Satchidanandarupaya Vishwotpattyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayandi taratascharteshwabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sadani Rasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Ketavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vaparerishwaraha Sadyo Hridya Varudyate Trakritibihi Shushushubhistatchana. Hari Om, and greetings from Prayag, which is in Bharat. Prayag is known as a Tirtha. When we think of Tirtha, we think going to Mandir, and there's a man there who has this silver vessel and takes a small scoop and gives you some sort of liquid concoction. And then we feel good about it, and then realize how sticky our hands are. And then we rubbed it in our hair, so our hair becomes sticky also. The etymology of the word tirtha is taranti anena iti tirtha. Taranti anena. Taranti means to cross or to rise. Anena means with. So a tirtha is a means that helps you to cross, to rise. Whenever one comes on a yatra, then more important than the place is the people. Here in Prayagraj, there are many rivers that come together, but there's places in the world where rivers come together also. Where I live, there's a river that flows from one lake to another lake, and it's amazing. More important than the place is the people. What makes Prayag this Raj, this great pilgrimage, is how many sincere beings would have come here to focus on their self-development. There's power in such experiences. I'm sharing this with all of you, not just because I'm in Prayag, but we've now completed 142 hours of exploring Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you go through all of our classes, the context has changed a lot. Sometimes Canada, sometimes America, sometimes Bharat, sometimes on a holiday, sometimes on a regular day. Our context has changed a lot, but the vision of Bhagavatam has not. Srimad Bhagavatam is for us to nurture our relationship with ourselves. To nurture our relationships with ourselves. So what have we done for 142 hours? Practiced self-love. Yesterday, when we were in the mandir for Aarti, somehow the word antaryami had a greater effect on me. Antaryami means the one who's inside and knows. So when we chant, we're saying, Jagadishvara, you're the one who's inside and knows. That's when we approach this personally. If you approach this impersonally, what's inside of you and knows? Awareness. Self-love is equivalent to one becoming more aware, one becoming awareness. Reviewing, as you think, so you develop. But what we've been focusing on is, as you associate, that's what triggers your thinking, which triggers your developing. And Bhagavan Krishna shares with Rishi Uddhava, your association should be with sadhus, those who are noble, those who are inclusive. Many times I've shared with you, a way to become more resilient is to have the right role models, the right examples, because you feel you can be the same way. When we associate with sadhus, what gets nurtured is bhakti. Sadhu, bhakti. Bhakti is like a fire. It purifies and lifts. If you think of a book being burned, the purification we don't understand so much, but it lifts, the ashes rise. So what bhakti does is it purifies our personality and lifts it so it can understand in a higher way. Bhakti allows us to tune into that which is more subtle, more causal. And that's why the next point in this framework is jnana. Sadhu, bhakti, jnana. And jnana triggers moksha. One feels free. After Bhagavan Krishna shares this with Rishi Uddhava is almost projecting onto Bhagavan, but you're leaving. So where is this sadhu sangha? And Bhagavan Krishna shares, you should associate with sattva. This is a word we throw around quite a bit. I'm rereading to you how Bhagavan describes sattva for you to analyze if you're engaged in sattva. Whatever wise people commend as spiritually beneficial should be understood as sattvika in nature. Whatever they condemn are to be taken as tamasika, and whatever they ignore as rajasika. For the development of sattva, man should associate himself with the 10 sattva developing entities and substances. From that will devotion and knowledge develop. Only then will the memory of one's spiritual nature arise and the bondage of matter get effaced. So put very simply, sattva is that which makes us less dependent on that which wavers and more dependent on that which is everlasting, ever present, and so on. Last week, I couldn't facilitate our class live because I arrived in the Delhi airport right as our class would have begun. So all of you got to experience what Puja Swami Tejomayananda has described as transformation technology. We have all sorts of adjectives for technology, social technology, information technology, management technology. This is transformation technology. In Skanda 11, chapter 13, verse 4, what are these 10 directions to nurture sattva? Agamopaf praja deshaha kala karma cha janma cha Dhyanam mantrota samskaraha dashaite gunahetavaha. You all got to listen to the discourses by Puja Swami Tejomayananda on this, but I don't think you finished them. So if you really want to pursue sattva, follow up with these recordings. After this section is completed, what happens is Rishi Uddhava is projecting onto Bhagavan Krishna some of his thoughtfulness. Any thoughtful person, that means all of you, would acknowledge that their minds are more powerful than their willpower. Any thoughtful person will feel, I have willpower, but the majority of the time, my mind is more powerful than my willpower. How many of you can relate to this? By a physical show of hands. So Rishi Uddhava asks Bhagavan Krishna, how do I pull my mind back from the articles, beings, and circumstances, but I'll simplify this to save time, objects. How do I use my willpower to not get lost in objects? And Bhagavan Krishna shares, this question was asked by the Sanata Kumaras to their father Bhagavan Brahma. And Bhagavan Brahma, who also didn't know this answer, he puts this question out to the multiverse. It seems like the mind is in the objects and the objects are in the mind. Both ways. This is specified more clearly where Rishi Uddhava, as he's trying to convey to Bhagavan Krishna what he's feeling, he says, Tatapi bhunjate Krishna, even though I know what's right, even though I have willpower, still I indulge. Tat katam, like who else? Shwa, which means a dog. Kara, what does kara mean? A donkey. Aja, which means a goat. Even though I'm a human, I still act like a dog and a donkey and a goat. The teacher of the Bhagavad Sapta here, his name is Swami Gangeshananda. He had taught my parents when they were in the Vedanta course. And he was sharing how some people have good-looking beards, like Puja Swami Chinmayananda. And you can tell because they're always going like this. And it's smooth to touch and it looks good. And then he said, some people have beards like goats. And I know he was looking at me. And he said it's harmful to other people, their eyes and their hands also. So like a goat, that one is living like this. I really want us to feel this because I know we can relate to this, but we don't take it as seriously as we should. Sri Tulsidasa gives the example of the mind and the objects as, the mind is like a fish and objects are like the water. It seems like our minds can't live without objects, like fishes can't live without water. And he goes on to share, and that's when we start to live in a vicious way. Our vices come out in terms of anger and greed and lust and so on. This is all presented. I want to elaborate for all of you what it means that the objects are in the mind. See, when I tell you our minds are in objects, that's straightforward. If you're watching something on Amazon Prime and You just keep getting infatuated by it. You're there. But what does it mean that Amazon Prime is in your mind? Objects in the mind, what this means is vasanas. Vasanas. Every time the mind indulges in an object, it creates an impression. It's like that object is now stuck in the mind. Does that make sense? An English word we tend to use for vasana is propensity. I have a propensity for coffee and not tea. A more accurate word is propulsion. Propulsion has a stronger force, a force that we can't overpower. That's what it means by the objects being in the mind. When this question is put by Bhagavan Brahma into the multiverse, then who appears? Bhagavan Hamsa. This swan comes, and this swan is so captivating that Bhagavan Brahma and his children, they all just keep looking at this Hamsa. Particularly Bhagavan Brahma, because he knows he didn't create this Hamsa. And if he didn't create this Hamsa, then who is this Hamsa? It is Bhagavan Narayana. Now, why a Hamsa? A Hamsa is an icon for deciphering. We use the word discrimination, but it's not a pleasant word in society. So decipher. It's deciphering this mix that we're in to know what is wrong and what is right. This Hamsa comes to show that the objects and mind can be deciphered, can be separated. Oh.